Kicking off at number 1, Super Mario Odyssey is still the gold standard for 3D platformers on Nintendo Switch. You take Mario on a globe-trotting adventure through massive sandbox kingdoms, each packed with secrets, collectible power moons, and unique mechanics tied to Cappy, the sentient hat that lets Mario possess enemies and objects. The level design is endlessly creative and rewards both casual exploration and obsessive completionism. Each kingdom has its own visual identity and gameplay hook that keeps the experience feeling consistently fresh from start to finish. The controls are responsive and satisfying, whether docked or in handheld mode. Post-game content dramatically extends the runtime for players who want to collect everything. It launched alongside the Switch hardware as a system showcase and has never stopped being a must-own title for anyone with the console. Number 2 is Super Mario Bros. Wonder, the most inventive 2D Mario game in years, and prove that the classic formula still has room to surprise. The game introduces wonder flowers scattered across each level that trigger unpredictable transformations, turning pipes into living creatures, shifting gravity, or flooding stages with chaos that changes the experience completely. The new power-ups, including the elephant fruit and drill mushroom, add strategic depth to traversal and combat. The art style received a significant refresh that gives characters more personality and expressiveness than any previous 2D Mario entry. A batch system lets players customize their approach to each level. Multiplayer supports up to 4 players locally. It landed as one of the most praised Nintendo releases of 2023 and represents exactly the kind of creative reinvention the series occasionally needs to stay relevant and exciting. Coming in at 3, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is the definitive kart racer on Switch and remains one of the best-selling games on the platform for very good reason. The base game already featured an enormous track selection and tight kart physics before the Booster Course Pass DLC doubled the track count with remasters of classic circuits from across the franchise's history. The racing itself is smooth, balanced, and genuinely competitive at higher difficulty settings. The item system keeps races unpredictable and exciting, whether playing solo or against friends. Local multiplayer supports up to 4-player split screen, and online modes are well populated. Battle mode was significantly improved over the original Wii U version. Accessibility options make it welcoming for younger players, while the competitive ceiling remains high enough to keep veteran players engaged across thousands of races. Number 4 is Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, which bundles 2 strong experiences into one excellent package. The main game brings the Wii U PO-Up platformer to Switch with 4-player local multiplayer, a wide variety of creative levels, and the catsuit power-up that adds vertical movement to every stage. Bowser's Fury is the standout edition, offering a connected open-world experience where Mario and Bowser Jr. explore a lake region that periodically erupts into chaos when the giant corrupted Bowser surfaces and attacks. This shorter, standalone experience feels like a preview of ideas that later influenced future Nintendo design philosophy. Together, the 2 experiences offer substantial content at a single price. The Switch version added online multiplayer to the main game, making it significantly more accessible than the original Wii U release. At number 5, Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door arrived on Switch as a full HD remake of the beloved GameCube classic that many fans had waited over 20 years to see re-released. The game follows Mario through Rogueport and a series of chaptered adventures that blend RPG mechanics with turn-based combat built around timed button presses and crowd interactions. The writing is sharp, genuinely funny, and far more character-driven than most Mario games dare to be. The remake introduces updated visuals, rearranged music, and quality-of-life improvements while preserving the core experience that made the original so celebrated. Each chapter introduces a new partner character with a distinct personality and exploration ability. It landed as one of the Switch's most critically praised releases of 2024 and stands as one of the best RPGs available on the platform. Number 6 goes to Mario Party Superstars, the most content-rich and mechanically polished entry in the Mario Party series in years. The game brings back 5 classic boards from the Nintendo 64 era of Mario Party, fully remastered with modern visuals and smooth animations. Over 100 classic minigames from across the series' history are included, drawing from games spanning multiple console generations. Online multiplayer allows players to enjoy the full board game experience with friends or strangers globally, which was a significant improvement over previous entries that restricted online modes. The gameplay is accessible enough for family play sessions while remaining genuinely competitive. It successfully recaptures what made the early Mario Party games so beloved without forcing players to use motion controls or gimmicks that had frustrated players in more recent entries. Coming to number 7, Super Mario Maker 2 gives players the tools to build, share, and play an essentially infinite library of Mario levels designed by players worldwide. The course creator supports 5 different game styles, covering the visual and mechanical rules of Super Mario Bros., Super Mario Bros. 3, Super Mario World, New Super Mario Bros. U, and Super Mario 3D World. Building tools are intuitive, and the depth of what experience creators can achieve is remarkable. A substantial story mode with hundreds of pre-built stages provides structure for players who prefer a traditional experience. Online features allow browsing by popularity, difficulty, or creator. The community has produced millions of levels, ranging from gentle introductions to deliberately brutal challenges designed to break players. It is one of the most replayable games in the Switch library, purely because the content never stops growing. Number 8 is Mario Golf Super Rush, a strong entry in the beloved sports spin-off series that offers multiple ways to play the sport across its varied game modes. Standard stroke play and match play cover traditional golf, while speed golf introduces a chaotic mode where all players race across the course simultaneously, using special abilities to sabotage rivals and reach their ball first. Golf Adventure offers a dedicated RPG-style single-player mode where you develop your own Mii character through training and tournaments. The course selection is solid and visually diverse. Character abilities add strategic depth to shot selection beyond pure skill. Post-launch updates added new courses and characters. It is not the deepest sports title on the platform, but delivers consistent fun whether playing solo or with friends locally, and the speed golf mode in particular stands as one of the more creative ideas in recent Nintendo sports releases. At number 9, Mario Strikers Battle League brought the beloved football spin-off back to Switch after a long absence, and delivered a fast, aggressive, and visually striking package. The game features 5-on-5 matches where physical contact, special abilities, and a charged hyper-strike shot system create high-energy gameplay unlike any standard sports simulation. Equipment customization allows players to adjust character stats across speed, strength, and technique. Online club modes let players form teams and compete in league structures against other clubs globally. The visual direction is darker and more stylized than typical Mario games, giving the whole experience an intensity that matches the aggressive gameplay. Post-launch updates added new characters. It caters to a specific audience that wants competition and chaos over casual fun. And for that audience, it delivers a consistently entertaining experience. Number 10 is Mario Tennis Aces, the best entry in the Mario Tennis series in years, and a genuinely solid sports game in its own right. The core tennis mechanics are deep enough to reward skilled players while remaining accessible to newcomers, with special zone shots and trick shots adding a layer of strategic depth beyond standard rallying. An adventure mode tells a story that doubles as an extended tutorial for mastering the game's mechanics, taking Mario through themed courts and boss encounters that each demand specific tennis skills. Online ranked play was well supported post-launch. The roster covers the full range of Mario franchise characters, each with distinct stat profiles that affect playstyle. Local multiplayer is smooth and entertaining for family play sessions. While not as celebrated as some other entries on this list, it represents one of the more complete sports packages available on Switch. Number 13 is Dr. Mario World, a puzzle game that brings the classic block-clearing formula into a modern package with colorful visuals and a surprisingly satisfying level structure. Players match colored capsule halves to eliminate viruses scattered across each stage, and the puzzle design scales in creative and challenging ways as the game progresses. While rooted in the classic Dr. Mario formula, the world presentation updates it effectively for current players. The roster of playable characters from across the Mario franchise each brings a special ability that changes strategic approaches to specific stages. It is accessible enough for players unfamiliar with the franchise, while offering enough depth in its harder stages to engage puzzle game veterans. As a lighter entry on this list, it fills the role of the quick session puzzle game that the Switch library benefits from having represented alongside the larger adventure and sports titles. At number 14, Mario vs. Donkey Kong returned to Switch as a polished reimagining of the classic Game Boy Advance puzzle platformer. The game tasks Mario with guiding mini Mario toy robots through increasingly complex stages, filled with switches, ladders, and enemies that must be navigated in the correct sequence. The puzzle design is methodical and rewarding, demanding observation and planning over reflexes. The visual style is bright and charming, with a toy factory aesthetic that suits the mini robot beam perfectly. A new cooperative mode allows 2 players to tackle stages together. The level count is generous, and the difficulty curve is well-paced. It represents exactly the kind of smaller, focused Nintendo release that the Switch library benefits from, alongside its blockbuster titles. And it executed its specific vision cleanly and confidently without overreaching. Number 15 brings Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, a puzzle platformer originally designed for Wii U that found its ideal home on Switch, with a portable mode that perfectly suits its short, self-contained stage format. You guide Captain Toad through compact diorama-style stages, rotating the camera to find hidden paths and collect stars while navigating obstacles Toad cannot jump over. The puzzle design is consistently clever, building on its one central limitation in ways that remain engaging across the full stage selection. Co-op mode allows a second player to assist by throwing turnips at enemies. Nintendo Switch exclusive stages based on Super Mario Odyssey kingdoms were added to the port. It is a relaxed, creative, and satisfying game that never overstays its welcome and works beautifully as a handheld game for shorter play sessions on the go. Coming to 16, Mario Kart Live Home Circuit is one of the most creative uses of the Nintendo Switch hardware in the entire library. The game uses a physical RC cart equipped with a camera to create an augmented reality Mario Kart experience inside your actual home. You place physical gates across your floor, drive the cart through them, and race against digital opponents that appear on screen alongside your real-world environment. The novelty is genuine, and the experience of designing your own home circuit is uniquely fun. Ghost racing and multiple cup structures give the game more depth than a simple tech demo. It requires space and a reasonably flat playing area, and the camera quality depends on lighting conditions. But when the setup works, it delivers something that no other Mario Kart game can replicate. It is the kind of hardware-specific experience Nintendo occasionally produces that sticks in the memory long after playing. Number 17 is WarioWare Move It, the motion-controlled party game that brings the beloved rapid-fire minigame series back with full Joy-Con gyro and physical pose mechanics at its center. Players hold the Joy-Con controllers in specific positions indicated before each microgame, and then react to absurd, chaotic prompts that last only a few seconds each. The humor is characteristically bizarre, and the variety of microgames is enormous, spanning references to classic Nintendo titles and completely original ideas. Multiplayer modes support up to 4 players in configurations that range from competitive to cooperative. The presentation is loud, colorful, and packed with personality. It is the kind of game that works best as a social experience, where reactions and physical movements become part of the entertainment. For party game situations with friends or family, it delivers consistent laughs and engagement across multiple sessions. At 18, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze is one of the finest 2D platformers ever made, and its Switch release brought the game to a far larger audience than the original Wii U version reached. Developed by Retro Studios, it features some of the most beautiful and carefully designed levels in the platformer genre, with each world built around a distinct environmental theme that affects both visuals and gameplay obstacles. The soundtrack by David Wise is among the most celebrated in Nintendo's history. Funky Mode adds a more accessible playthrough option using Funky Kong, whose unique abilities ease some of the game's more demanding sections. 2-player co-op is smooth and enjoyable. Despite not carrying the Mario name, it belongs on this list because it represents the same standard of Nintendo platformer craftsmanship and remains one of the Switch's most essential experiences for fans of the genre. Number 19 is Yoshi's Crafted World, a platformer built entirely from a handcrafted paper and cardboard aesthetic that makes every stage feel like an elaborate diorama built by enthusiastic children. Yoshi traverses cheerful stages, throwing eggs at enemies and collecting flowers, with a unique mechanic that allows players to flip the perspective and explore the backside of each level to find hidden items. The difficulty is gentle, and the experience is designed for relaxed play rather than challenge, making it an excellent entry point for younger players or anyone wanting a stress-free platformer. 2-player co-op adds a cooperative option for shared play sessions. The visual creativity is remarkable, with stages themed around board games, movies, and everyday objects reimagined in cardboard and yarn. It is warm, charming, and unhurried, in a way that provides a genuinely calming counterpoint to more intense titles in the Nintendo library.
Coming to number 20, Kirby and the Forgotten Land steps into the top category despite being a Kirby game rather than a Mario title, because it represents Nintendo's 3D platformer design at its most welcoming and creatively confident. The game takes Kirby into a post-apocalyptic mall world and introduces the mouthful mode mechanic, where Kirby inhales large objects like cars and vending machines to use their properties for traversal and puzzle solving. The 3D level design is polished and inventive throughout. Copy abilities return with upgrade paths that encourage experimentation. Two-player co-op is smooth and fun. The game is accessible enough for any age group, while containing enough hidden challenge and optional objectives and harder post-game content to satisfy experienced players. It stands as one of the most accomplished Nintendo releases in years, and an essential part of the Switch library.
Number 21 is New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe, the Switch version of the Wii U 2D Mario platformer that adds the Nabbit and Toadette playable characters to make it the most accessible entry in the new Super Mario Bros. Series. Toadette can transform into Peachetta using the Super Crown, providing additional floating ability that helps less experienced players complete difficult sections. The base game features substantial content across multiple worlds, with hidden exits and alternate paths. Super Luigi U is included, offering a harder course set with the slippery Luigi physics that demand more precise platforming. 4-player co-op creates entertaining chaos. While the new Super Mario Bros. Visual style has been criticized for its lack of distinctiveness compared to Wonder, the gameplay itself is solid, and the Deluxe version represents the most content-complete version of the game available at a reasonable price point.
At number 22, Super Mario RPG is the Switch remake of the legendary Super Nintendo RPG that introduced timed button presses to turn-based Mario combat and delivered a story full of surprising charm and humor. The remake maintains the original structure and writing while updating visuals to a modern 3-dimensional style and adding quality-of-life features, including a hint system and retry option after game overs. New post-game boss content was added for players who clear the main story. The classic soundtrack received new arrangements that sound excellent while remaining faithful to the originals. Characters like Mallow and Geno return alongside familiar faces. For longtime Nintendo fans who played the SNES original, it is a faithful and loving restoration. For newcomers, it remains one of the most approachable and enjoyable RPGs available on Switch, offering a complete and satisfying experience from start to finish. Number 23 is Princess Peach Showtime, a game that finally gives Nintendo's most iconic princess her own dedicated adventure after decades of being a supporting character. Peach explores a magical theater threatened by the villain Grape, moving through floors that each challenge her to transform into a different role, including sword fighter, patissiere, ninja, and detective. Each transformation plays differently, and the stage design in each section reflects the theme of that particular role. The visual presentation is elegant and theatrical, emphasizing performance and spectacle throughout. It is aimed at a broad audience and prioritizes creative variety over mechanical depth or high difficulty. It arrived as a welcoming and well-produced platformer adventure that works particularly well as an entry point for players new to Nintendo games, and stands as an important step in giving Peach her own franchise identity beyond her traditional role. Coming to number 24, Mario & Rabbids Sparks of Hope is the sequel to the surprising tactical RPG crossover that launched with the Switch and improves on the original in nearly every way. The grid-based tactical combat from Kingdom Battle is replaced with a more flexible movement system that allows characters to move freely within a range before committing to actions, making encounters feel more dynamic and strategic. New Sparks replace Rabbid companions with elemental abilities that can be mixed and matched across your team. The story takes Mario and the Rabbids across multiple planets, each with its own visual and mechanical identity. Boss encounters are creative and memorable. The writing has more personality and humor than the original. It is one of the most underappreciated games in the Switch library and represents genuine creative ambition in the tactical RPG genre that goes beyond what most players expected from this franchise collaboration. Wrapping up the list at number 25, Bowser's Fury stands alone as one of the most interesting Mario experiments Nintendo has produced in years. Originally released alongside Super Mario 3D World, it can also be discussed as its own experience, given how distinctly it differs from anything in the 3D Mario catalog. The entire game takes place in a connected open lake world called Lake Lapcat, where Mario explores islands collecting cat shines, while Bowser periodically erupts in a corrupted giant form that floods the world with lava rain and aggressive attacks. The cooperation and tension between Mario and a temporarily helpful Bowser Jr. drives the experience in a way that feels genuinely fresh. The shorter runtime makes it perfect for a single sitting. It represents the kind of experimental Nintendo design that occasionally points toward where the company might take its flagship franchise next, and that makes it essential viewing for any serious Mario fan.